broadcasting all around the globe. Welcome to the Bitcoin Digital Money Show, where we talk everything Bitcoin and crypto related with your hostess, early Bitcoin adopter, serial entrepreneur, and freedom crypto capitalist, cashflow queen, Kenitra. For more content, visit us at www.bitcoindigitalmoney.com. Please remember, we do not offer securities, investments, tax, or any legal advice. Enjoy the show.
All right, well, welcome to our first official Bitcoin Digital Money Show. All right, so my name is Queen. Cashflow Queen Kenitra is my pen name and my author name. So what we're going to talk about, and I want to bring you all up to speed just in case you have not followed me, or maybe this is your first time hearing my voice and you're not familiar with who I am. What we're going to talk about, I'm going to give you a couple of things. I'm going to talk about my background story as far as how I got involved in Bitcoin. We're going to discuss what is Bitcoin? What the heck is this Bitcoin thing I keep hearing about? We're also going to talk about why Bitcoin. Why should I use Bitcoin? And also securing your Bitcoins. So, with that, let's dig into my background story. You know, when I go to different events, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency events, and meetups and things like that around the country, around the globe, you know, that's the first, question pretty much people ask you is like, how did you get involved in Bitcoin? What made you get involved in Bitcoin? And for me, I would say, and I know this may sound kind of weird, but my story started at the age of 15, right? So I was priming myself to be ready for Bitcoin at the age of 15. At the age of 15, I started my first business. I was in middle school, and my business was really candy arbitrage. So here's how it worked. My mom would give me $5 a week for lunch. It was $1 a day for lunch. So she would give me $5 a week at the top of the week. And I asked her one week because she had a Sam's Club membership where she could get stuff in bulk at really, really deep discounts. And so we had a candy store inside of our school, and most of the kids, before school started, they would go buy candy or whatever before school. And so I went in there and I kind of priced some of their items. And I said, well, what if, I sell some of this stuff and I sell it just a little bit cheaper than what they're selling it for? And I can do it that way if I, get it in bulk. So I started with blow pops. That was like my first start. That was my first inventory. So I went and got a big bag. Well, before I did that, I asked my mom, hey, can I take my money and go buy these blow pops? Then I'm going to sell them and I'm going to make some more money. And she says, hey, look, I don't, know your business plan and all of that, but here's what I'm telling you. Here's your $5 for lunch. If you blow it, you don't eat lunch. So do whatever you want to do. I said, okay, great. Will you take me to Sam's Sam's Club so I can go get it? She was like, yeah, I'll take you. So I went. I got a big bag of blow pops. I got a variety of flavors because I didn't know what flavors people were going to like. And we would sell these blow pops. I actually had two employees. So my best friend, and then I had another friend. And so I had them. What we would do is we would pretty much all the door entries into the school, we would stand in front of them and we would just yell out, blow pops, get your blow pops. And then all the kids started figuring out, oh, it's cheaper to get them from them. So we would sell out pretty much every day. So I was doing this like every day. So I was making like, you know, $20 off of my $5. So I was just like in heaven, right? So that was my first little taste of entrepreneurship. And then I started doing artwork and stuff on kids, blue jeans and their jackets and all this kind of stuff. And it just really showed me that, hey, I can take an idea and I can monetize that idea and people will pay me for that. So that's when I first got started. In 1992 or so, this was about a year after I graduated high school. In 1992, one of my mentors recommended me to read a book because I had always had this fascination with money. I was just always fascinated with money. I don't know if you can relate to this or not, but as a kid, I always wanted to know, where does this stuff come from? Like, how can I get more of it? Like, why do people fight, cry, argue over it? Like, yeah, what is this? You know, so I always had this fascination about money. So in 1992, one of my mentors recommended that I read this book called The Creature from Jekyll Island. And it's by Edward Griffin. And a fascinating read, a fascinating book. And it talked about, you know, how the Federal Reserve was created. It talked about, you know, monetary policy, and it talked about all of these different concepts that, you know, where I started to kind of, you know, put the pieces of the puzzle together. And so from reading that, then I got interested in Austrian economics. So I started studying Austrian economics and studying the philosophy around all of that. And I was just deep in the rabbit hole, just deep in the rabbit hole. So about 1995, that's when I got fascinated with the internet. And that's when I started learning, you know, about the internet and all of this stuff. Back then it was called the information superhighway. I was one of the first people in my peer group, in my family, and amongst my friends to actually even talk about email and, you know, the World Wide Web and all this kind of stuff. And I would tell people, you know, hey, we're going to be using this technology every single day. It's going to be a part of our lives. We're going to be able to communicate. We're going to be able to, you know, won't have to send snail mail letters anymore. You can send email and all this kind of stuff. And I would say these things and people would look at me like I had three heads, like I was just crazy, you know. And so here we are today, you know, using this technology. We can't get away from it. You can't go 24 hours without accessing the internet in some form or fashion, right? That's how Bitcoin's going to be, right? That's how Bitcoin's going to be. So, anyway, 95, I taught myself web development. I taught myself programming languages, HTML, Java, different things like that. And then I went out, I created a business around the concept. So I went out to small businesses and promoted my services to them. They bought my services, boom, created a marketing company around it. So that was all cool. That was great. Then we had, fast forward, you know, 2008, we all know what happened. Big greedy bankers crashed the whole financial system. We had a global, worldwide financial collapse, and a lot of people lost their total, you know, life savings, their retirement. Just a lot of bad things happened during that. And 2009, remember, I'm still fascinated with money, right? I'm still fascinated with Austrian economics. I'm still fascinated with understanding why the Federal Reserve exists, central banks, all this stuff. I'm still fascinated with this, even though I'm running this marketing company. So 2009, this white paper gets introduced. It gets put out online, right? And it's an 8-page Bitcoin white paper, which I call it mathematical poetry. It's really a mathematical poetry document is what it is. You know, once you read it, and you may not get it the first time, you may have to read it again and again and again, but once you get it and you get that aha moment and it clicks for you, you're not gonna want to do anything else with your life but something around this. I know that's what it was for me and my peers and business partners and colleagues that were all involved in this space. That's just where our heads at. Like, what else could we be working on that's more important than this? So when I first heard about Bitcoin was trading at, I want to say, around 10 cents per coin. And I hadn't read the white paper at that point, right? I just heard, different, things about it, some articles. It wasn't a lot of information on it, but it was a lot of technical stuff from developers and techie guys and things like that. But the guy that I first started following was Trace Mayer. And Trace Mayer, he's an economist. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's an early Bitcoin adopter, and he's just really a smart guy that I follow. And he's one of the main reasons, or I could really point to him and say he is the reason that I took the plunge and got involved in Bitcoin. So at any rate, it was trading at 10 cents or whatever. Didn't really, look at it the way I should have. Then it went to, I think like, I don't know, double digits, 10, 20 bucks or whatever. It got at about $100. When it got at about $100, I did read the white paper, and I said, I had that aha moment, right? And I said, oh my God, this is freedom. Like, this is what we people, libertarians, Austrian economists, all these people that are, hedging with gold and silver, this is the answer, right? This is the answer. So I got excited. And what I did from 2012, from like the latter part of 2012 all the way up to the latter part of 2014, I still had my marketing company. And what I did was I had my higher end clients, I had them to pay me in Bitcoin. I would only accept Bitcoin at that time. And at that time, it was trading for right around 100, up under 100 or whatnot. So I was accumulating, Bitcoin at this point in time. I still haven't purchased, but I was accumulating it. I had a wallet, and I was having them to pay me in Bitcoin. Because it was crazy as far as how to get it at that time. It was really difficult to get. You'd have to go get a green dot card. You have to go to Walmart. You have to do this and do that. It seemed very shady, and I didn't want to figure it out. I was just so involved in what I was doing, and my obligation was to my marketing clients and so forth. So I had them to do it. I had smart clients, and so they did it, and so it was great. I was accumulating. 2014 was when I first, there was now some companies coming on board that will allow you to purchase, and it made it a little bit easier. So 2014 was when I bought my first Bitcoin, and buying ever since from 2014 on until today. So I know that's a long winded background history, but that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But no, that's my story, and I'm happy to be where I am today, and I'm happy to have the open-mindedness, and I guess the optimistic viewpoint, and be able to receive this, because I think that people that dismiss it, and every one of us, pretty much every person that I've talked to, early adopters on to people that just got involved, a couple months ago, we all see it for the first time and we dismiss it because we just don't believe it, right? We just like, how can it be any different? The banks have always had a monopoly on the money. How can something compete with that? And, that's the beautiful thing about it, is that, the banks have always had a monopoly on the money. And now here's this little technology that can compete with that can give people an option. And I feel like, I'm not one of those people that feel like, Bitcoin's going to overthrow the bank, overthrow the government. That's not what it's about. It's just about having an option, having an alternative to the incumbent, to the legacy system. And we have options in everything else, In the United States, if a company gets too big, they'll break it up. The railroad industry was broken up because it was a monopoly. The telecommunications industry was broken up because it became a monopoly. The automobile industry was broken up because it became a monopoly. Now the banking industry is being disrupted because they have been a monopoly since the invention of banking. So here we are, this little Bitcoin technology protocol, chugging along and disrupting the banking system. Fascinating. So yeah, that's my Bitcoin story. So why Bitcoin? People ask me all the time, well, why should I invest in Bitcoin? And I'm going to be very frank with you. If you're in a first world country, really the only use case that I could see for you would be a store value use case, right? We're not in a situation, I'm talking people in the United States, we're not in a situation where we have strict capital controls, where we can only get, so much capital out of our bank accounts and things like that. And we're not in that situation yet. Right? So people ask me, well, why Bitcoin? Well, there's a couple of my top reasons, and I'll share those with you. One of the first ones is that, there are not too many assets that we own. And you may think, well, my vehicle's paid off and I have the title to my vehicle, so, I own my vehicle. Well, you don't own your vehicle. The state issued you a title, but you don't have a manufacturer's title from the manufacturer of the vehicle, so you don't truly own the vehicle. It's not a bearer asset. You got an IOU from the state. So you may say, well, I own my house. My house is paid off, my mortgage is paid off. I own it. I have the deed. Yep, you have the deed from the county. The county has the true deed. They gave you an IOU. They issued you an IOU, so you don't really own your house. You say, well, okay, well, I own stocks. I have lots of stock certificates that I own. Well, if you look at those stock certificates, you'll see that you don't own the stocks. It's an IOU. The DTCC owns stock, the real stock. You don't. You just have IOUs all over the place. Well, Bitcoin, for me, in my life, it's the first, outside of gold and silver, it's the first bearer asset that I could truly own and control. Right? Even with gold and silver, if you don't actually have the physical gold, the physical silver in your possession, you don't technically own it. Right? If it's, on a ledger somewhere in a Swiss bank or Hong Kong or some storage, facility, and they tell you have X amount of gold, X amount of silver, and they show you a balance on a website, on a web page, who's to say that that gold and that silver is really there? So if it's not in your possession, you don't truly own it. And so that's the beautiful thing for me about Bitcoin and why Bitcoin. It's the first bearer asset that we can truly own. And we can be our own bank. We can be our own bank. This leads me into another. Now, when I say be your own bank, you've got to not only control the private keys, right, to your Bitcoin. And we'll dive into this stuff deeper. If it's kind of over your head, don't worry about it. I'm giving you a high level view of everything here in this episode. But you own the private keys, and then you secure those private keys. All right. So that's how you own your Bitcoin the proper way and control your Bitcoin the proper way. But I talked about the banks, right? So another reason why Bitcoin. So the banks have had a monopoly on the money for as far as we can remember. So when you go and you get paid, you work your 40 hours, your 50, 60, some 70, 80 hours a week, and you go and you deposit that hard-earned check into the bank, well, guess what happens? You've just made an investment in the bank, and you've become an unsecured creditor. And the bank has full legal rights to do whatever they choose to do with your money. So you deposit your $10,000 in the bank. They loan that $10,000 to me at 20% interest, and they give you less than 1% on your money. The banks didn't have any skin in the game, right? They're just the building. They're just the middle man between person A and person B. So this is where Bitcoin comes into play and disintermediates that and brings person A and person B together without any third party, without any counterparty risk, without any middleman, without any rent seekers. That's a beautiful piece of technology. So, the banks, right? You don't own your money. They can do whatever they choose to do. They can, loan the money out to me at a high interest, give you nothing on your money. They can bail in, meaning confiscate your money, and they have every right to do so, right? So they can confiscate your money. They can money launder your money, and they have the legal right to money launder because they're banks. They can do whatever they choose to do with your money, because once you forked it over, you deposit it into the account. If you read the terms and the conditions of your bank account, you will see in black and white that they can do whatever they choose to do with your money. You do not own the money that's in your bank account. That's not a bearer asset. That's, again, you're an unsecured creditor. You forked over all rights, and you have counterparty risk. It can be seized. It can be confiscated. Let them get a letter from the IRS saying you possibly owe some back taxes. You may as well say that money's good as gone. So that's why Bitcoin, right? That's why Bitcoin. And the beautiful thing about Bitcoin, like I said, is that it's the first time in a long time, as far back as I can remember, that we actually can own and control a bearer asset. And we can send any amount of value from one person to another person anywhere in the world without any third party, without any counterparty risk, without any censorship, right? If I wanted to purchase whatever I wanted to purchase, drugs, adult entertainment, or what have you, I could do that. That's not what I do, but I could do that. And I don't judge people that do that. That's their business, right? As long as you do what you do and you don't tread on any of my rights, then I'm okay with you doing whatever you want to do with your body and your money. So those are some of my top reasons why Bitcoin, and I wrote about this in my book. There's a chapter in my book where I go into and I talk about the laws that have been snuck on the books kind of quietly without any press or any coverage on it, because obviously, if the spotlight was to be shined on this, people would have a problem. But in the book I discussed the agreement between FDIC and the Bank of England. And when you really study, like I said, Jekyll, that creature from Jekyll Island got me started down that rabbit hole. And when you really, really study our monetary history, you'll know the Bank of England has a lot of clout. And so anyway, there's an agreement that we won't do any bailouts anymore. So if banks go insolvent and so forth, we won't do any public bailouts with public tax funds. We'll do something called bail-ins. And bail-ins just basically means that they'll just take your money that's in your bank account. Your 401k, they'll just take it, right? You don't own any of that stuff anyway. You've already given up all rights to it. You're not aware of it, but you've given up all rights. So now, take back some of your rights. Study this Bitcoin Study this protocol. See if it makes sense for you in your financial situation. So, I'm looking at my notes here. We talked about my background, why Bitcoin, and what is Bitcoin. For those of you that may not be familiar, again, Bitcoin is mathematical poetry. Bitcoin is freedom. Bitcoin is censorship resilient. Bitcoin allows you to transact any amount of value to anyone, anywhere in the world with the touch of a couple of buttons. I don't know if you've ever flown out of your home country internationally, but $10,000 US is like the number, the magic number. So try to fly with $11,000, $12,000 in your possession and see what happens. Because that's a government controlled fiat currency, they control it, the rules and so forth that apply to that money apply to you because you're in possession of it. See, the rules of Bitcoin are rules of freedom, not rules of oppression. So when you own and control Bitcoin, you have to adhere to those rules. And those rules are simply math. And see, math doesn't discriminate, against gender, sexual preference, ethnicity, none of that. Math is just simply math. That's the freedom in Bitcoin. That is the freedom in Bitcoin. And I encourage you, if you haven't, read the white paper, go to bitcoin.org and download the white paper and read the white paper. It's only 8 pages, and I tell you, you'll have to read it again and again and again and again, because I'm not a technical Bitcoin developer, and I'm assuming, most of you listening to the show, you're not going to come from that standpoint. So there's some technical things in there, but as you read it and read it and read it, you'll get an aha moment. And once you get that aha moment, you won't want to do anything else but Bitcoin, or at least be a part of it in some sort of way. Okay. Another thing is securing your coins. You want to make sure that again, when you're buying Bitcoin, remember when I started, it was all crazy how you had to get Bitcoin, right? There were really no on-ramps. Now there are exchanges out there where you can buy Bitcoin. In some locations around the U.S., around the world, really, they have Bitcoin ATM machines where you can put physical fiat cash in the ATM and you can purchase Bitcoin and send it, to your wallet. You want to secure your coins, right? You don't want to keep your Bitcoin on an exchange because, exchanges get hacked, and there's been tremendous amounts of hacks out there. Bitcoin itself, the protocol, has never been hacked. Bitcoin's security mechanism is huge. I was told it's about 500 times larger than the largest supercomputer in the world. So the network is secure, it's resilient, the protocol has never been hacked. And trust me, there are people trying every single minute of the day to hack Bitcoin. Why? Because it's about a $130 billion market cap right now. So there's a lot of capital at stake if you figure out how to hack it. But it's never been hacked at the protocol level. What happens is, if you hear about hacks and things like that, it's usually an exchange or an individual user. Their wallet has been hacked because they didn't secure their coins properly. Their passwords are weak. They're using unsecured networks to get into their wallets, things like that. So you have to be mindful of those types of things. So, if you're going to join this ecosystem and be a part of this ecosystem, learn how to secure your coins, learn how to secure your computer, learn how to encrypt files. Just be paranoid. I tell my clients all the time, if you err on the side of paranoia, you'll be fine. You'll be absolutely fine. So, yeah, Bitcoin. I want to also spotlight our sponsor for this episode. And our sponsor is CryptoWealthClub.com. Again, CryptoWealthClub.com. CryptoWealthClub.com is a Bitcoin and blockchain educational platform. It teaches people how to go from a novice to an advanced or even wealthy cryptocurrency investor. So if you're interested in that, head on over to CryptoWealth.com and check out what they have to offer. If you'd like to submit a question for us to go through on our next upcoming episodes, you can send an email. Send your question to support. Again, send your question to support at BitcoinDigitalMoney.com. Again, if you'd like to submit a question and have us to go over that question in an upcoming episode, then send that question to support at BitcoinDigitalMoney.com. Hey, it's been a great first official episode, guys. Make sure that you go to our YouTube channel, subscribe on our YouTube channel so you can stay updated. Go to the website. You can actually subscribe to our iTunes show as well if you want to listen to us through iTunes. I'm not sure how you're listening right now, but we're on iTunes, we're on YouTube, and some other podcasting platforms. But if you go to BitcoinDigitalMoney.com, then you can see all of those choices. So it's been great. Loved having you here. I'll see you in the next upcoming episodes. And remember, if cash flow is king, then Bitcoin is queen.com. Have a great day.
Thank you for tuning in to the Bitcoin Digital Money Show. Remember to subscribe, and share the show with others. For more behind the scenes and in-depth content, please visit us at www.bitcoindigitalmoney.com. And remember, if cash flow is king, then Bitcoin is queen.com.